Natania Reuben's story has always remained consistent. She has said it from the very beginning, and we reviewed that story yesterday. She was shot by Diddy. Her story never changed. Yesterday, we covered a little bit of Natania's story, and we probed the question that a lot of us were having while reading Rodney Jones' civil complaint about JLo being handed the gun and JLo handing the gun to Diddy. Was that the gun that shot Natania Rubens in 1999 in the New York nightclub? Natania's story has always remained the same. There are various articles that support her statement. There has been various articles that have said that she was the victim of this shooting by Diddy. So how did all of this happen where you had Shine convicted of this crime, Diddy acquitted, and JLo went along with her career? Everybody went along with their
Diddy
careers.
hired a legal team which included O.J. Simpson's attorney, and they said Jennifer Lopez is a very famous actress. To think that Diddy is walking around with her with a loaded gun is ridiculous, that it stretches the imagination. Even though there were witnesses who saw Diddy with this gun, and his driver testified that Diddy told him he would pay him off to claim the weapon. I mean, remember, now we've even learned that Cassie alleged that Diddy demanded that she carried his firearm in her purse to make her uncomfortable and to demonstrate how dangerous he was. Despite all of that evidence, Diddy was found not guilty. I mean, look at the power of this man. If I was that driver, I would flee the country. He's going to come after you now.
Some folks believe that Shine took the fall. It might have been paid off after the 9 years he spent in jail, was deported back to Belize, and became a politician there. People feel like Shine might have more to add to the story, but is choosing not to at this point. Was he paid off? When JLo made reference to an abusive boyfriend, was she speaking about Diddy?
Lopez opened up about her past in her 2014 memoir, True Love, saying, "The only way you can be mistreated is by allowing yourself to be mistreated. And that was something I did over and over again. I've never gotten a black eye or a busted lip, but I've been in relationships where I have felt abused. Maybe it's a push, a shove, or a nasty word that stays with you."
We will never know. Now, Natania did an interview yesterday with NewsNation, and we're going to review that interview today. Please remember that we've talked about Natania here on this channel, and I will link all those videos in the description box so you guys can watch it. Natania has always been consistent, has always spoken out, and everybody on social media, everybody in the media in Hollywood has ignored her story. So I'm very happy to see her speaking out on NewsNation.
She joins us now, sharing her story. Natania, thank you so much for being with us. I can't imagine what you've been through since 1999, and then all the emotions that must be coming up over the last couple of days. What was your reaction, Natania, when you saw these massive raids at P. Diddy's two homes?
First and foremost, thank you for having me. It was very emotional. In short, it was extremely emotional because it was basically, it marked 25 years, a quarter of a century since this occurred. And I've had to relive this over and over again, intermittently in that time. So when I saw it, it was very cathartic because I finally felt like justice would be done. Justice would be mine.
And it seems like, I mean, just imagine that overwhelming emotion of knowing that the perpetrator, the man that shot you in the face, you saw him shoot you in the face. This overwhelming feeling of are people going to actually believe me now? Natania had a civil lawsuit against Diddy, and Diddy paid her $1.8 million. Okay, along with the two other people that were shot, they were paid as well. And JLo, again, has never spoken about those events, even though there is a lot of True Hollywood fluff story version of what happened that night that she doesn't really talk about. But I have a feeling that JLo knows a lot more. JLo's silence has been very convenient for her. She's made a career out of herself. But it makes me wonder how much JLo really knows and why she's remained silent, and whether she has any statement to Miss Natania at this point.
And belong to all of his victims.
Yeah, and you have said since really right after the shooting that it was P. Diddy who shot you. I mean, I think you even said it to the doctor that night, right?
I said it immediately. I literally watched them pull out the guns. I've had a clear point of view. I mean, for God's sake, I got shot in my nose. I was facing them directly. I watched everything occur and have described it, vehemently to all parties involved. I think in our society, we have respectability politics. There are people who want to be adjacent to power or celebrity or money, and there's a hierarchy of respectability. Because his name was more notable, he was believed rather than a victim who gave a first-hand account. By the grace of God, I survived.
Money talks. Hollywood was a lot more powerful then, right? Diddy was a lot more powerful then. We have to also understand that this was, years before this, it was the Tupac and Biggie shootings. There was just so much going on in the industry. But this man, Diddy, has been given a lot of power, has always had a lot of power in the industry. A lot.
Yeah, and this was also a different time. I mean, things were very, very different in 1999. I mean, did you sense right from the beginning that no one believed you?
Well, I don't think that was on my mind. I think first and foremost, I'm a mother. I'm a mother of 3. At the time, I was a mother of 2. And just surviving and getting home to my children was of the utmost importance to me. Being whole and being able to mother them. That was, primary on my list.
At that time, Natania was also a beautician. A lot of these articles from 1999 and 2001 are going to tell you a little bit of Natania, who she was back then. So it was very telling. And another interesting part of those articles, it talked about during the trial how Diddy's attorney tried to go after her credibility by talking about her lawsuit, Natania's lawsuit with the former landlord. So these attorneys try to bring up a bunch of crap, which is what attorneys do, They're trying to defend their client. That's what they're going to do, to try to tarnish Natania's name and credibility. You are a witness and a victim at the same time of this crime. Just imagine the trauma and the impact of this, only to find out that the perpetrator, the man that shot you, was acquitted. What kind of a justice system do we have here where money is powerful? People get away with stuff.
I didn't have any reason to believe that to think that someone would not believe me. But as things unfolded, it was a very short period of time where I realized that's what in fact was happening.
So as I mentioned, Diddy has denied being the one who pulled the trigger. But this is interesting, Natania. Rodney Jones, also known as Little Rod, is now suing Diddy for sexual harassment. That's something that's been in the headlines for the last couple of days. And there's a very interesting quote from his lawsuit that relates back to you that I want to read because it sort of ties all of this together. And it says, Jones claims in the lawsuit, Mr. Combs shared that he was responsible for the shooting in the nightclub in New York City with rapper Shine. He shared that artist and Mr. Combs' girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, aka JLo, carried the gun into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual.
Was this the same gun that Diddy used? That JLo passed this gun over to Diddy? Was that the same gun that hurt Natania, that injured Natania in the face, and that injured the other 2 individuals that were shot in the shoulder? Was it the same gun? And if it was, what do we do now? What do we make of this now? Should JLo have been charged back then as well?
So now you have Little Rod in this new lawsuit saying that Diddy told him that he actually was responsible. I mean, what did you think when you read that?
Well, I was incensed for a number of reasons. First and foremost, for the past quarter of a century, he's vehemently denied that he was responsible, even though I knew wholeheartedly, and as so many others who were in the club that night, we all knew he was responsible. A lot of people were afraid for their safety, justifiably so. I mean, the history that has occurred in the last 25 years proves that they were justified in being afraid, but I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid because I still bear I have 9 bullet fragments remaining in my face. So when
That is insane. So she lives with this every day. People were afraid. This man has a lot of power, lots and lots of power. There's a lot of death that surrounds Diddy, a lot of death.
When I saw that count 128, that's actually count 128 of the lawsuit. When I saw that on a podcast that was analyzing all of the counts, I knew I had to speak. I had no intention of going viral. I was just getting it out of me. I have a mantra, having my say. There was a time a few years ago where I had a talk radio show called Having My Say. And that's very important to me. I believe everyone is entitled to have their say. Far too often we don't hear people or listen. And so I just wanted to get it out of me because it was like an audible, deep breath that I needed to take. And I made the TikTok video, not expecting it to go viral. Went to pick up my daughter, came back home, and she's like, and I literally told her, I'm like, well, you're probably going to see it tomorrow. I made a video on TikTok. Maybe 100 people will see it. By the time we got home, she said, Mommy, it was 70,000 people. And I could not believe it.
Wow.
But it was time. It was time for me to speak. I'd stayed quiet for 25 years. It was my time to speak.
Yeah, we don't know yet what's going to happen with the P. Diddy situation. Obviously, again, he hasn't been arrested. There's clearly a very big federal investigation happening now. But I'm thinking back to other cases, R. Kelly, Jeffrey Epstein. When they started to dig, all sorts of stuff came to the surface. They reopened old investigations. Would you like to see the investigation involving you getting shot at that club be reopened?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The irony is there was a grand jury. We all had to go and speak at the grand jury. JLo testified at the grand jury, as did many other people. It needs to be reopened because if that is in fact the case, she carried the gun in and she lied to the grand jury.
She carried the gun in and she lied to the grand jury. All right? It needs to be reopened. Something needs to be redone here. JLo, Jenny from the block, it's time, girl. It's time.
It needs to be reopened. My shooting, ironically, the night I went into the club, I had a comb in my pocketbook called a rat tail comb. People in the beauty industry or people that use that type of comb would be all too familiar. It's just a comb. It can't do anything to harm anyone. And I had the very security officer who lied during the trial, Sharice, I forget her last name, but she literally took it from me and kind of pushed me like, you can't take this thing. This is a weapon. To let other people in with guns. If someone had combed me 24 years ago, I'd be fine. You wouldn't even know my name. But having been shot by someone that was allowed to come into the gun when I couldn't bring in a comb, I would absolutely unequivocally like the case reopened. It needs to be reopened. And the saddest part for me is, had people taken what I said more seriously and listened more intently, 24 years worth of people probably would not have had to suffer.
Yeah, and I ask you this respectfully, just because I think people at home might be wondering, and I've never been shot. I can't imagine what that's like. But, you know, in the chaos of that moment, and it's a club and there's people all around, like, how can you be sure that it was actually P. Diddy?
Because I was standing by the front door. I watched the entire thing out.
She was the witness to this crime, the victim and the witness. When somebody is shot, let me give you guys an example, and they're dying, right? We take that testimony. It's like a dying declaration. When Selena Quintanilla was shot by Yolanda, Selena Quintanilla named the room number and the perpetrator, right? So it's the same. She happened to be the survivor. She witnessed, she's the victim and the survivor of this crime. So why didn't people take her serious? She has never once changed her story. Before she went to surgery, she identified her perpetrator. Why didn't anybody take her serious?
No reason to believe that it would escalate to a shooting. It was just male machismo and bravado at first.
Yes, ma'am.
And shoving, raised voices, hands. But then I saw them reach in their waist and draw from their hip. And I knew. I instantly turned to my friends and told them, be careful, watch out. And when I turned back, I know, and I've said over and over, I've heard the voice of God.
So here's the deal. They did the searches, right? All the people were quote unquote searched, but these celebrities weren't because they were able to come in with their guns. Lady had a comb. She couldn't go in there with that comb.
Said, you are about to be calm down. And as I said, no, I looked straight forward ahead and I watched the muzzle flash from both of their guns and I felt the impact to my face instantly.
Wow.
There's no doubt in my mind who shot me.
Well, again, and that was a recent interview from NewsNation. Shout out to NewsNation for that interview. Shout out to Miss Natania Rueben, and I truly hope that people look into this case again. None of it is making sense, in my opinion. I think JLo is very crucial in this situation. I really hope that she does speak out and give a statement. I feel like she knows a lot more, and she's selectively has kept this hush hush for a many, many number of years, and God knows what else she knows, and as well as other surrounding supporters of Diddy, like Stevie J, like Slim Thug, like Peter Guns, like Rich Dollars, like so many others in the industry that have selectively that have kept on mute and quiet. Okay, they have. They need to speak out. They need to say something because we're done with this BS in this industry and this power dynamic and this idolization of these people and money. We're done with it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out.